My name's Jack. I'm 52. I live in Chicago, a city that taught me early that nothing is given freely, and even what's earned can be ripped away in silence. I've poured concrete for 30 years, laid brick until my knuckles bled, and kept every promise I ever made. But nothing prepared me for the kind of erosion that happens inside a family that doesn't see you. 5 years ago, I married Ashley. She was kind in a quiet way, soft-spoken but decisive. We met at a hardware store of all places. She was buying sandpaper, I was fixing my back with ibuprofen and stubbornness. Her laugh was tired but genuine. That's what drew me in. She had a calm I mistook for peace. Later, I'd learn it was something else, detachment maybe, or a deep, unspoken exhaustion that she carried like a second skin. Ashley had a son from her previous marriage, Kevin, 17 when I met him. He had his father's face and his mother's silence. Sharp jaw, sharper eyes. He didn't speak much, especially not to me, but I didn't expect him to. I'd read the books, watched the interviews. Step-parenting is a slow bleed. Show up, stay present, never force a bond. So I didn't push. I showed up. Every parent-teacher night, I was there, flannel tucked in, pen ready. When he broke his wrist snowboarding, I spent 6 hours in an ER, handing over my insurance card like it meant nothing. I let him use my car, let him Uber on my dime. When the school trip came up and Ashley hesitated, I paid it off in one click. No lecture, no conditions. That was the role I chose, the background man. Steady, dependable, invisible. But invisibility has a weight. You feel it in the pauses, in the way dinner gets passed around the table, fork, spoon, Kevin, Ashley, then silence when it gets to you. You learn to chew without being part of the conversation. Still, I told myself he's a kid. Teenagers are chaos wrapped in skin. Give it time. Then came the night I stopped pretending not to hear. It was summer, late July, humid in that sticky Chicago way that makes the air feel like syrup. I had grilled steaks, cleaned the patio, set the table. Ashley was inside finishing the salad. Kevin had come home late, again, and was pacing in the living room, phone pressed to his ear. He didn't know I was standing just outside the screen door. Didn't see me freeze mid-step when I heard my name. No, man, he doesn't deserve gratitude. He's just mom's backup plan. He laughed. I didn't even move. I stood there with tongs in one hand and a beer sweating in the other, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt something I hadn't let myself feel. Humiliation. Not anger. Not yet. That would come later. First came the shame because I knew. I knew the way he saw me. I just hadn't wanted to look it in the eye. I didn't say a word. I didn't make a scene. I plated the steaks, poured the wine, and sat down to dinner like nothing had cracked open inside me. Ashley complimented the marinade. Kevin scrolled through his phone, oblivious. I nodded, smiled, even laughed once or twice. And when the night ended, when the dishes were done and the house was quiet, I took out my phone and opened a folder I'd never told anyone about. I called it The List, a digital graveyard of every quiet dismissal, every brush off, every time I'd been told, with words or silence, that I didn't belong. I typed in what I'd heard, word for word. He's just mom's backup plan. Saved it, dated it, logged the moment, and for the first time I didn't try to forgive it. A few weeks before that, Kevin had started disappearing for entire weekends. No explanation, no heads up. Just vanished Friday nights and showed up sometime Sunday smelling like beer and something more bitter. First, Ashley played along. He's at David's, or Mike's, or somewhere, she'd say, waving it off with that tired smile. Teenager stuff. Let him be. But I couldn't. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I knew what entitlement looks like when it starts to root itself in a young man. I'd seen it on job sites, in locker rooms, in the half-snarled mouths of boys who grew up believing the world owed them safety without sacrifice. And Kevin was growing into one of them. He treated my car like a cab, left it reeking of fast food and smoke, never filled the tank, never said thank you, just tossed the keys on the counter like he was doing me a favor returning it. One Sunday night, I found a crumpled receipt on the passenger seat, 2 pitchers of beer, for shots, and something called a dropkick. He was 19, and driving my car. When I brought it up, Ashley gave me the look. The one that says, "Don't make this a thing. He's young. He's figuring it out." But it wasn't about age. It was about respect. And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife, I saw the message. Kevin had fallen asleep on the couch, phone screen glowing in the dark beside him. A new text lit up. I wasn't snooping. I was grabbing a blanket. But my eyes caught it before my brain could look away. "Tell your dad I'm at David's. Jack never checks." I stood there, staring at those words like they were scrawled in blood. Tell your dad. Not me. Him. The ghost of a man who hadn't shown up in years. And the assumption that I was too checked out, too passive, too nothing to notice where he went or what he did. That was the moment. The real moment. The dinner insult was the crack. This was the fracture. Because here's the thing about being invisible, eventually you start to wonder if maybe you are. I stood over that couch for a long time, blanket in hand, staring down at a boy who lived on my dime, under my roof, with my name on every bill that kept his life warm and dry. And he didn't see me, not as a man, not as a provider, not even as an obstacle, just nothing. I covered him with the blanket, quietly, carefully, and went to bed without a sound. But something changed that night, something subtle, like a string pulled loose inside me. I didn't yell. I didn't demand. I didn't tell Ashley. I just started noticing. The way Kevin never asked before borrowing the car. The way he said Mom's house, never our house. The way Ashley corrected me, gently but constantly, when I tried to set rules. "He's almost 20, she'd whisper. "You don't have to police him." But I wasn't policing. I was participating. And I was being told, softly, politely, to sit back down. So I did. And I kept adding to the list. The time he told his friends I was just the guy who drives. The night Ashley asked me not to make things harder, after I grounded him for skipping class. The mornings I made breakfast, only to watch him walk past the table without a glance. Each moment, logged, saved, quietly, because one day I knew the bill would come due. And when it did, I wanted to remember exactly how the debt was built. Monday morning, 6:42 a.m. That's when I made the first move. No grand speech, no confrontation, just a quiet decision. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of black coffee, logged into my bank account, and closed the card linked to Kevin's Uber app. 2 clicks. Done. The vehicle access. Removed through the car's GPS app. Password reset. No more casual joyrides at my expense. Then I opened the folder labeled Kevin. In it, receipts from the past year. $84 in Uber rides. $220 for a gym membership I didn't authorize. $67. $93 in food deliveries. Gas, Spotify, Amazon monthly auto charges that bled out like a slow wound. I added them up. Then I forwarded every line to one man. His father. The man Kevin did acknowledge. The man I wasn't. Subject line, transferring responsibility. No threat. No complaint. Just facts. I went to work that day like I always did. Mud on my boots, hands scraped from brickwork, body tired but committed. When I came home, Ashley was still at her office. Kevin was in his room, music bleeding through the walls like always. I sat down, turned on the news, and waited. It didn't take long. The first scream came 30 minutes later. A door slammed. Footsteps stomped. Kevin burst into the living room holding his phone like it was evidence of a crime. "What the hell is this?" I muted the TV. "My Uber's not working. The gym says my membership's unpaid. My Spotify jack. My F*********ing Spotify." I stood calm. I handed him the printout, every charge itemized and highlighted. My handwriting at the top in black ink. "Ask your father." "What is this?" he barked. "Your new sponsor," I said. "You want the privileges of his bloodline? Start billing him." He blinked, stunned. His rage couldn't find footing. He was so used to me folding, explaining, softening the blow before it landed. But not this time. "You can't just." I can, I said. And I did. He shoved the paper back at me. This is petty as hell. I shrugged. Petty is living in a house paid for by a man you disrespect. He opened his mouth, closed it again. His fists curled. You're being a child. No, I said. I'm being a man who's done being used. Ashley came home an hour later. She didn't even get through the door before Kevin pounced. He canceled everything. My card, my gym, my any life. She turned to me. Jack, what's going on? I stayed seated. I ended the subsidy, the free ride, the silent tolerance. Without warning? There was warning, I said. 5 years of it. She looked between us, the boy she bore and the man she married. Her face split with disbelief. You could have talked to me first. I did. Every time I covered for him. Every time I cleaned up after him. Every time I gave while being called your backup plan. Her voice rose. You blindsided him. No, I said. He's been blind to me. I just let him feel it for once. That night, the house fell into silence. Kevin retreated to his room, slamming the door like punctuation. Ashley didn't eat. She stared at her glass of wine as if it held answers. I cleared the table, did the dishes, wiped the counters, and for the first time in a long time I didn't feel like a ghost. The next morning, I printed out 2 years' worth of bills, insurance copays, monthly subscriptions, food delivery charges, gas statements, the car's maintenance costs, every dollar Kevin had consumed without acknowledgement. It came to $8,417.36, a number I now knew by heart. I scanned the stack and emailed it to Ashley. Subject: if he's grown, let him live grown. No explanations, just proof. Because here's the truth. I wasn't punishing a child. I was unburdening a man. The backlash came as I knew it would. Kevin posted online some vague, passive-aggressive story about toxic stepdads. Ashley's sister texted me. What the hell is going on over there? I didn't respond. Let them guess. Let them stitch together whatever story helps them sleep. Because I finally understood something. Respect isn't about tone. It's about acknowledgement. And if a man can feed your belly, gas your car, keep your roof overhead, then vanish from your gratitude entirely, something is broken. Ashley confronted me that evening, softly at first. He's humiliated, Jack. You've embarrassed him. I didn't flinch. He embarrassed himself. He's just a kid. No, I said. He's a man when he wants the car, the card, the gym, the girls. But a child when the bill shows up. You don't get both. Her eyes welled. But she didn't argue. Not really. She knew. She just hadn't expected me to be the one to draw the line. That's the part they never see coming. The moment the quiet man stops absorbing the disrespect and starts itemizing it. Kevin tried one last time to appeal. He knocked on my office door, eyes red, voice lower than usual. You could have just talked to me. I did, I said. He shook his head. This is overkill. I turned my laptop toward him, showed him the spreadsheet, every charge, every date, every time I chose to give when I could have refused. This is restraint, I said. Overkill would be collecting. He stared at the screen, didn't say a word, then left. That weekend he called his father. I know because Ashley told me. She said it like it was news, like I'd be rattled. He called his dad, said he's finally ready to have that relationship. I poured my coffee. Good. She blinked. Good? Maybe it's time he found out what responsibility looks like outside of a credit card. She didn't answer. I didn't need her to, because here's the part that burned most. Not that Kevin disrespected me. Not that he used me, but that Ashley allowed it. That every time I was ignored, she smiled through it. That her silence was louder than his contempt. There's a kind of betrayal in a partner who watches you be erased and says nothing. And I'd had enough of it. So I changed the locks on my generosity. Quietly, completely. I stopped being the man they assumed would always be there. The silent provider, the nodding stepshadow, the man who swallowed every insult for the sake of keeping the peace. Peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from standards. That Sunday, I sat alone in the backyard, beer in hand, the list open on my phone. I scrolled through every moment I'd archived, every snub, every quiet theft of dignity. And I felt something strange settle over me. Not pride, not relief, just clarity. This wasn't revenge. This was reality catching up to a household built on unspoken imbalance. A man who gives without condition becomes a man who is taken for granted. And a man who is taken for granted eventually becomes something worse. A stranger in his own home. I had been that man. But not anymore. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't issue ultimatums. I just stopped financing contempt. I set the balance back to zero. And the silence that followed felt like respect. Even if no one said it out loud. The fallout didn't come with fire. Came with frost. Ashley went quiet. Not the kind of silence that gives you space, but the kind that dares you to speak first so she can punish you for it. Kevin barely came out of his room. And when he did, his footsteps announced him like a protest march. Stomping, dragging, full of performed anger. Every slammed cabinet, every exaggerated sigh was a declaration. You've ruined this house, Jack. But I didn't flinch. I had stopped apologizing for setting limits. Ashley waited 3 days before she confronted me again. We were sitting across from each other at the dining table. Her arms were crossed, face unreadable. Kevin had just stormed out, muttering something about borrowing real money from real family. You blindsided him, she said. Again, like repetition would make it truer. You could have handled this differently. I did, I said. For years. She didn't like that answer. You embarrassed him. He embarrassed himself. He's only 20. Then it's time he acted like it. She stood, pacing. You humiliated him. I kept my voice even. No, I cut him off. Humiliation is the residue of entitlement. Ashley's breath hitched. Her nails dug into her palms. You think I've been a bad mother. I think you've been a silent one, I said. And silence is complicity. That hit something. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked the tears back, hardened herself again. You're not his father. No, I said. But I've paid like one, bled like one, been dismissed like one. She said nothing, so I continued. And I'm done being punished for the title I don't hold and the sacrifices I did make. The next day, I did something I should have done years ago. I gathered every receipt, every transaction, every favor I'd silently swallowed. From braces to broken phones, from school fees to spontaneous Amazon packages that just showed up because Kevin needed them. I sorted them into categories: medical, education, transportation, lifestyle, subscriptions. $8,417.36. That number had grown. I put it all in a folder. Neat, labeled, color-coded tabs. Then I sent it to Ashley with a message that read, if he's grown, let him live grown. I didn't ask for reimbursement. I asked for recognition. What I got was more silence. And then the whispers began. Her sister called, said I was cruel, said, he's just a boy, said, you knew what you were getting into. No, I didn't. I knew I was marrying a woman with a son. I didn't know I was walking into a house where my efforts would be erased the moment they weren't free anymore. Ashley's mother called next, asked if everything was okay, said she hoped I wasn't taking things personally. I almost laughed. What part of funding someone's entire adulthood is impersonal? I ignored the calls. I didn't explain. I wasn't in the mood to convert people who had only seen the surface, who thought of me as the lucky guy who married a single mom and skipped the baby years. They hadn't seen the late nights, the overdraft fees, the Sunday mornings spent fixing car batteries, and pretending it wasn't exhausting to be everyone's solution and no one's priority. Kevin finally cracked 4 days in. He came down the stairs like a man on trial. Hoodie half-zipped, face pale, phone in hand. Dad says he can't cover this month. I didn't respond. He says it's your responsibility, that you've always handled it. Still, I said nothing. Kevin stood in front of me like I was a vending machine that suddenly stopped accepting bills. You're seriously just gonna let everything collapse? I looked up, met his eyes. Collapse implies there was structure. All I've done is remove the scaffolding. He blinked. So what? I'm supposed to just flail? Yes, I said. That's how men learn to stand. He stepped back like I'd hit him. But I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't even raised my pulse. He stormed out. Again. Ashley followed him. Again. That night, she didn't come home. That was the first time. I didn't text. Didn't call. Just sat on the porch with my folder of receipts, watching the neighborhood lights flicker on like stars that knew their place. The next morning, I opened my laptop and typed a list. Not of expenses, of boundaries. I will not pay for Kevin's transportation. I will not pay for Kevin's education. I will not pay for Kevin's phone, gym, or subscription services. I will not respond to requests forwarded through Ashley. I will not engage in emotional negotiations designed to guilt me into reversing these decisions. I printed it, signed it, posted it on the fridge. Ashley saw it when she got home. She tore it down. This is a family, not a boardroom. No, I said. This is a household. Families communicate. Households divide labor. Right now, I'm restructuring my position. You're being punitive. No, I'm protecting myself. She shook her head. You're blowing up everything over one sentence. No, I said. That sentence just exposed the foundation. Kevin's words, he's just mom's backup plan, weren't a fluke. They were the truth spoken by someone who thought I'd never respond. And Ashley's silence? That wasn't peacekeeping. It was permission. I wasn't punishing a misstep. I was correcting a pattern. They could hate me for it. They could call me cold. But for the first time, I was choosing boundaries over breakdowns. Because the truth is this: when a man gives everything and receives nothing but entitlement in return, he doesn't break. He closes, quietly, methodically, like a valve turning shut. Kevin's next move was desperation dressed as entitlement. He tried to guilt me. He stood in the kitchen one morning, phone in hand, voice low and trembling. A performance without conviction. My tuition's late. I'll get kicked out if I don't pay. I sipped my coffee. Did your dad say that? I asked. He said you're ruining everything. I nodded. And what did you say? He hesitated. That he's not helping. And why would he? I asked. You only need him when the bank is closed here. He opened his mouth. Closed it. That's the problem with fantasy fathers, I said. They don't do the work. They just give you someone to blame when the real one walks away. Kevin left again. This time he didn't slam the door. Progress, maybe. Ashley stayed gone that night too. Didn't call. Didn't text. When she came back the next morning, she didn't look at me. Just went upstairs. Showered. Got dressed. At breakfast she finally spoke. He's your son too. No, I said. He never wanted that. You raised him. I tried. You can't just stop. I didn't stop, I said. I adjusted. She stared at me. You're punishing all of us. No, I said. I'm refusing to punish myself. She looked away. I don't know who you are anymore. I'm the same man I've always been, I said. You're just meeting the version who expects a return on investment. Silence. Heavy. Dense. And I let it sit. Because boundaries don't need to be screamed. They need to be honored. That afternoon, Kevin's father called. Left a voicemail. Said he wasn't equipped to step in. Said I was making things worse. I didn't call back. Because here's the truth, I wasn't the problem. I was the stopgap, the fill-in, the fallback plan. And when fallback plans stop falling, people get hurt. But that's not my fault. It's the fault of everyone who climbed without ever looking down. So I stayed on solid ground. I kept working. I kept paying the bills that were mine. I kept breathing. I let the silence grow roots. And in that silence, I finally heard the only voice that mattered, mine. The voice that said, "You've done enough. 2 weeks. That's how long it took for the storm to lose interest in blowing my door down. Kevin stopped trying first. He disappeared into his room most days. Headphones welded to his head, doors shut like vaults. He spoke to Ashley in monosyllables. He didn't speak to me at all. Ashley's silence grew colder, more precise. She'd place dinner on the table one plate short. She'd do laundry but never fold my clothes. She never yelled. She never confronted. She simply edited me out, as if I were a chapter in a story she no longer wanted to finish. But I didn't fight it. I let the distance grow. I let it breathe, because I was done negotiating my own value. One evening, as the sun began dipping behind the buildings, Ashley stepped onto the porch. I was sitting in my usual chair, bourbon in hand, the list open on my phone. I wasn't rereading it. I didn't need to. I had memorized it. She stood there for a moment, arms crossed, eyes scanning the street as if searching for the right script. Then she said it. Kevin called his father. Again. I nodded. I figured. She hesitated. He said something that surprised me. I waited. He told him about the canceled card, the Uber charges, the gym, everything. I raised an eyebrow. And? Ashley looked away. His dad said, "Go ask Jack. You pushed him out yourself." I didn't respond. Not at first. Because I didn't feel vindicated. I felt empty. And then I felt clear. "He's right," I said. Ashley sat down, but not too close. Her hands trembled slightly in her lap. "You really meant it," she whispered. "All of it." I didn't nod. I didn't confirm. I just let the truth hang between us like steam rising from the bourbon. She looked at me then, eyes softer than they'd been in weeks. "He's scared. He doesn't show it, but I can see it." I finished my drink. Fear teaches faster than comfort. Ashley's voice cracked. "You think I failed him?" I turned to her. "No. I think you protected him from consequences until he couldn't recognize what they looked like. And I helped." That cut her. She stood, ran her hands through her hair. "So what now?" she asked. I looked at the sky, the purples bleeding into the dark. "I keep paying for what's mine," I said. "I stop paying for what isn't." She shook her head. "It's not that simple." "It is," I said. "It's just not comfortable." The next day, Kevin came to me, not with anger this time, with something smaller, something dented. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. I nodded. He sat down across from me, didn't look me in the eye, fiddled with his fingers like a child trying to apologize for something he knew was wrong but didn't know how to fix. "I didn't mean it," he mumbled. "What I said, about you being Mom's backup plan." I let the silence stretch. "I was just mad. I didn't think you'd hear." "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't think I'd hear, because you didn't think it mattered." He winced. "It was just a dumb thing to say." "No," I said. "It was a true thing to say. You just didn't want to deal with the world where I took you seriously." His mouth opened, closed. "I'm not asking for an apology," I said. "I'm asking for reality." Kevin blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you said I wasn't family, so now you live like I'm not." He looked down. "I can't afford this semester without your help." I nodded. "Then you'd better get a job, or go to your father, or apply for aid, or figure it out." "I thought you cared about my future." "I do," I said, "but I care more about you learning to respect the people who fund it." He was quiet for a long time. Then he left the room. I didn't stop him. Later that night, Ashley found me packing a small duffel bag. Not leaving, not yet. Just separating what was mine from what was ours. "Is this it?" she asked. "No," I said. "This is me putting down what I've carried alone." Ashley's eyes filled. "I didn't know you felt this alone." "That's the thing about being useful," I said. "People forget you're human." She sat on the bed, watching me fold shirts like they were made of glass. "You still love me?" she asked. I looked at her. "Yes, but I love myself too." That stunned her more than anything else I'd said, because until now, that had never been part of the conversation. The next few days passed like smoke. Hard to hold, easy to inhale. Kevin avoided me. Ashley hovered. I kept my distance. I focused on work, on clarity, on rebuilding the boundaries I had bulldozed in the name of keeping peace. Then, on a Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang. Kevin's father. I opened the door and found a man who looked like a warning label. Tired, underdressed, regret stitched into every line on his face. He didn't smile, didn't pretend. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped aside. We sat in the kitchen. He refused coffee. "I can't cover his tuition," he said flatly. I said nothing. "He told me you canceled everything, that you're making him beg." "I'm making him learn," I said. He shook his head. "He's just a kid." "No," I said. "He's your kid. That's the part you keep skipping." The man flinched. "He's not my blood," I said. "But he lived on my labor, my credit, my silence. And when he finally showed me how little I mattered, I took him seriously." The man rubbed his temples. "You're not making this easy." "It's not supposed to be easy," I said. "It's supposed to be honest." He left without thanking me, without owning anything. But I didn't expect him to. You don't expect rainfall from a desert. Later that week, Kevin came home with a folder of applications. Scholarships, grants, campus jobs. He didn't say a word, just left it on the counter. Ashley brought it to me like it was a white flag. "He's trying," she said. I nodded. "So am I." And that's when I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't cruelty. This wasn't revenge. This was self-respect. The slow, quiet reclamation of a man who gave everything and finally learned that love without respect is a kind of death. I hadn't abandoned them. I had abandoned the version of myself who tolerated being erased. Kevin's world didn't collapse. It adjusted. He picked up shifts at the student center, sold some old electronics, applied for emergency aid. He started speaking to me like I was real. Not dad, not friend, but man to man. Small things. Eye contact. Questions before taking. Thanks after receiving. It wasn't gratitude. Not yet. But it was a beginning. Ashley changed too. She stopped translating my words for Kevin. Stopped running interference. Started asking me how I felt before telling me what Kevin needed. It was awkward, but it was real. One night, she sat beside me on the couch, rested her head on my shoulder, and whispered, "I'm sorry I made you feel replaceable." I didn't cry, but I felt something crack open in my chest. Something quiet and alive. "You didn't make me feel that," I said. "I just let it go on too long. So now I ask you, was I wrong? To cut the cord? To let them fall and find their footing? To trade comfort for consequence? Or was this the only way a man like me could finally say, I'm here, but not for free?"